Welcome to this week's episode where I give you one tip that has absolutely changed my life over the course of the last 30 years. Many people's lives that I've had the pleasure of working with over the past 2 decades, and I want to share it with you. It's a perfect time to implement it now. We're just going to jump right in. You know, there's this opportunity when people come to you and they ask you a question. Sometimes it's a favor, sometimes it's mutually beneficial, sometimes not. Maybe somebody wants you to help them move. We've all been there. The friends called, you have the pickup truck, or they have the pickup truck, but they need an extra set of hands. Maybe they're asking you to join in a party, in a festivity, maybe bring a salad, maybe a dessert. Maybe they're asking you to help decorate. Maybe they're having you give them a hand shopping. Quite frankly, you have a lot of different options of how you could respond. Depending on the level of relationship you're with, obviously, if it's someone that you have an amazing time with and that you would do anything for, it's a lot easier to say yes. It's a lot easier to say no in many respects because you have that understanding of one another. But maybe it's someone who you don't know as well, but you might want to get to know someone, more of an acquaintance, and you're not sure how to answer. A lot of people think of it as saying yes or saying no. I personally reframe that and like to think of it as saying yes or saying yes. What am I saying yes to? Am I saying yes to the fact that, yes, I'll show up Saturday morning, 7:00 with my gloves on, ready to lift heavy objects? Or am I saying yes to myself that I will stay and spend some time at home journaling because Saturday would be the day I'd have off? What am I saying yes to? In this way, it's subtle. And yes, at the end of the day, it is a going to do one or the other, or maybe both, or maybe neither. However, people share with me stories of how they have a hard time setting boundaries or quote unquote saying no to someone. I think what they don't realize is there is sometimes where that's a sum zero game. If you are saying yes to someone else, that means you're saying no to yourself. My encouragement is to look at it a little differently and also to be a little selfish, focused on self-care, if you will. Not selfish in a negative connotation, but saying yes to you. If that's something new, then try it on and see how it fits, because you'll have lots of opportunity. And throughout the year and the months to come, you'll have other opportunities that come up where you're asked to do something, whether it be at work, whether it be with a coworker, whether it be in the community with a neighbor, maybe a friend, family, loved one. And you have the opportunity to reframe this. Sometimes you can say yes to both. You can say yes to yourself. Yes, I will sleep in or spend that time journaling on Saturday, whatever I had planned. And then, yes, I will come, not at 7 a.m., but I'll be there at 9:00 and I'll be able to lift for an hour and a half. You can get a lot of boxes and a lot of furniture moved in an hour and a half. And then it's up to them if they want to take it or leave it. If they say, oh, I plan to be done by 9:00, it's like, well, yeah, that's okay. But take responsibility for where you are energetically. Because oftentimes I see when people say yes to someone else, they're really saying no to themselves, and they go there begrudgingly, sometimes with some animosity or built up resentment. And this whiny sort of victimy is revealed, and nobody wants a part of that. It is really time to take responsibility, to be accountable for my actions, right? It's time for you to be accountable for your actions. Right? So if you don't want to be somewhere, don't be somewhere. If you need to be somewhere and you believe it's important to you, then behave as though you want to be there, because you do. Because if you want the end result, you need to reframe and use your brain as a helper to help you along the mileposts. You want to do the sit-ups. You want to do the burpees. You want to do that. Now, do you individually want to do those things? Maybe not. And maybe even in that moment, doesn't feel like it. You have to be able to connect those tiny actions to your big end goal that you do want, whether it's fitting in a certain swimsuit or whether it's having 6-pack abs. So it's day and age. It's time for you to be accountable for what's going on for you. The reason you run out of time at the end of the day, at the end of the week, that you have more week than you have time, and you've therefore not taken care of yourself, whether it be with hydrating, whether it be with meal prep or getting out and working out. So it's a perfect opportunity for you to take care of you. There's no more excuses at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of this year, 10 years, your lifetime. There will be no blaming anyone else. You need to be accountable for your body, what you put into it, how much time you spend taking care of it, and responding to its communications to you. This is a big part of it. Accountability and the reframe go hand in hand. Accountability can't really happen until the mindset is reframed. Sounds a little like brainwashing. And the truth is, a lot of you guys' negative self-talk, when I hear people and I ask people how they are talking to themselves, they would never, ever say that to another human, ever. They would never, ever say that to like a loved one or a child or even a pet, but they say it to themselves. That has to stop, and it has to be replaced with healthy habits, mental habits, whether that's reframing, whether that's just building up through incantation and constant breath work. There are so many ways that you can get there, but you need to change your mindset and get your mind right in order to be accountable, to be consistent, to be dependable. All these other things are really, really challenging if you don't start with the mindset first, because you can be consistent for 3 days, for 4 days, for 5 days, and maybe you slip, and your mindset and the self-talk that you have sets you reeling to where then you can't even get back for day 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. You go 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 months before you start back up because you've beaten yourself up so much. If that's sounding familiar, this is a great opportunity to apply these tools and to practice them. What are you saying yes to? Give yourself a mental inventory, a list right now. What are you saying yes to? Are you saying yes to self-care? Are you saying yes to self-care in the form of, are you hydrating every day? Are you getting outside in the fresh air and going for walks at sunrise, a sunset, maybe in the dark? We're on daylight savings time. Jesus, it's dark already at like 4:00. So maybe you're walking in the dark. Still could be peaceful. It doesn't help with your circadian rhythm, but it still has a lot of benefits. It can be quite calming, actually. Are you saying yes to a solid nighttime routine? Are you saying yes to, meal prep and eating right? If you're not saying yes to those things, it means you're not saying yes to you, because you have one body. You house everything you have in this one meat wrapped body, and it's the only one you have, despite hopefully not bionics or, replacing hips and knees and elbows and what have you. You have one body, and you will not be able to turn back the clock far enough to make up for a lifetime of laziness. And that's truly what it is. My friend and I were just talking about that word yesterday, lazy. And we rarely use it because it just doesn't apply to us. I'm lazy in no part of my life. Not one single part of my life am I lazy currently. And neither is my friend who I was chatting with. Busy, but not lazy. And sitting around with intention and meditating, doing breath work, being engaged with your loved ones or your fur babies, that's not lazy if it's intentional. Not taking care of yourself typically is lazy. It's irresponsible. And quite frankly, it's offensive, because we have an amazing opportunity in this one lifetime of ours. We've already won. We have so much going on that's amazing. Like, the majority of us can see. We have 2 eyes with decent vision. We have 2 ears that we can hear really well. We have tactile function. We can walk. We're ambulatory. Some of us can run and sprint and do all kinds of things still, athletically or otherwise. There are so many blessings to be had just within this house. And then certainly we have people we interact with our pets and our loved ones, our siblings, our parents, our kids, our grandparents, our neighbors, our community, maybe our colleagues or associates. We have so many people that are around us there's a portion of that, maybe 10%, 20%, that we would be very, very grateful for. Are you saying your blessings each and every day? Are you writing them down? I was just having a conversation with a practitioner this afternoon. And even when I travel, even though I haven't traveled very much this year, just for personal reasons, I've stayed a little close to home, take care of the cats. And, but even with the 2 weeks away that I've been here and there, accumulative, I still have 100% average sleep score. 100. 6 weeks in a row, 100. One day I got, when I was in Vegas with my sisters last month, I only slept about 5.5 hours, but I did everything else right. As far as I drank enough water, I was very active, even though I sat at the tables for hours at a time. I got up, I was doing, some stretches in my seat. I got up regularly to use the washroom, and I walked to that. And then we had lots of steps, but we stayed up at night later than usual. For me, I'm usually in bed 9:00. We're up at like midnight, 1:00. I'm listening to them tell stories, and still, so I got this very reduced. Usually I sleep 7.5 to, usually about 7.5 hours right now. In the summertime, it may be like 7 hours and 45 minutes. But so I got like a fraction of that, like maybe 60% of that sleep. I still had a 97% sleep score. Even though I didn't sleep enough hours, my quality of sleep was there. And because I prepped for that, did all I could, I had an early flight coming back home. But I didn't want to sacrifice, 2 hours of spending with, in the vicinity of my sisters. So being able to sacrifice that, knowing it's not that I shoot to be, have a perfect sleep score every single night. I mean, yes, I do. But at the same time, it is a top priority. But when it comes to other things that don't have as much, frequency, like visiting family, certainly I will forego that and break the 100% cycle. But I still bounce back like that day. Like it doesn't set me back at all because I've built such a foundation for that consistency. I say yes to those things so I can say yes to other things. I've said this a number of times, but within the structure comes the freedom. I have no worries at all if I'm out in Vegas with my sisters at 11:00 at night, 12:00, and I'm like, you want to still go? I have no worries. My bedtime's 9. I'm 3 hours past when I would normally go to bed. I have no qualms whatsoever. Like I have no lack of energy, no anxiety about being able to wake up the next morning, catch a shuttle, and get to the airport on time to fly internationally back home. I have no worries about it at all because I know that like a rubber band, I will spring right back and perform the same. In fact, I didn't even notice, to be honest. Like I really didn't wake up unrested in any way, shape, or form. And I can do that. And I can say yes to things that I really want to say yes to because I consistently say yes to me. It is so important. And this is what I was getting at when I had that little digression, is that I've spoke to this many times, is that the more structure you have in your self-care, the more freedom you will have in the rest of your life to show up for loved ones, to show up for your community, to show up for your kids, your grandparents, your cats and dogs, all your pets. I know it seems like you're going backwards to take care of yourself and therefore someone else is not getting cared for, whether it be your partner or your child or your cats or dogs in the household. I know it feels like that, like you go backwards. It's not that way at all. It is an exponential growth that happens when you do self-care. You have to trust me on this. Let me know how you get on. You can join our free texting community. You can text the word yes to 206-483-2960. That number again is on the outro. 206-483-2960. You can text any updates, wins, questions, inquiries you have to that. That comes directly to me. There's no charge for that whatsoever. It's completely altruistic. I'm here to be of service to you. I hope that you can try on some of these tips because each and every person is very unique. That's been my experience for 25, 30 years. I've been on this spiritual journey. We are far, far more different than people give us credit for. And we have a lot of likenesses as well. I'm not going to discredit that. The polarity of being human, one of the polarities is that we are very, very different from one another and very, very alike. So if you can embrace both sides of that, take on some of these tips and then tweak them to work for you, I look forward to hearing how you get on. Have a fantastic week. All of these opportunities to say yes to yourself. Remember, you are worth it. This is your divine calling to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. I think that you'll find a lot of levity in it. There is a lot of joy and a sense of lightness in caring for yourself. It's where accountability starts and ends with you. It's where trust starts and ends with you. It's where dependability, where responsibility, where consistency and commitment, it starts and ends with you. Remember that. Enjoy your family. Stay strong and be awesome.